I don't have to actually clear my throat before I say it.
It's funny, though. It catches the character, I think.
It does. And I'd say the same to you. Fact.
Fact. Bears eat beets.
Nazi Germany was a top-down controlled economy. That is the antithesis of free market capitalism. Fact. Left-wing ideologies in the 20th century led to the deaths of more people than any other combinations of ideologies. You still haven't offered a working definition of socialism. Read the third paragraph. There are examples littered throughout the rise and fall of the Third Reich. Reich. I've read the 1100 pages. I have Mein Kampf as well. Hitler hated socialists. The internet is available to you as well. If you were half interested in research, you could be less ignorant. I'm showing you pages for my books. I think I'm going to be comfortable to say I'm more interested in research than you. He was an anti-Semitic, anti-socialist, capitalist nationalist. Hitler equated the Jews with capitalism. He was staunchly anti-capitalist. Quote, "We want to build up a new state. That is why the others..."
We want to build up a new state!
I'm not doing the German accent. "We want to build up a new state. That is why the others hate us so much today. They are, after all, plutocracies in which a teeny clique of capitalists dominate the masses, and this, naturally, in close cooperation with international Jews and Freemasons." End quote. Speech at the Berlin Sportpalast on the opening of Kriegswinterhilfswerk, September 4th, 1940, Adolf Hitler. Quote, "Germany's economic policy is conducted exclusively in accordance with the interests of the German people. In this respect, I am a fanatical socialist, one who has ever in mind the interests of all his people." End quote. Speech on the 21st anniversary of the National Socialist Party, 24th of February, 1941. Quote, "It is already war history how the German armies defeated the legions of capitalism and plutocracy. After 45 days, this campaign in the West was equally and emphatically terminated." End quote. Berlin. Hitler's order of the day calling for invasion of Yugoslavia and Greece. April 6th, 1941. The real Brian. Jews were swine to Hitler, and he believed anti-Semitic conspiracy theories regarding Jews polluting the, quote, pure Aryan race. Aryan race. Aryan. It was nothing about capitalism. He took money from Henry Ford for Christ's sake. He made money from Mein Kampf sales as an anti-socialist. It's fine if you Googled a reasonable critique of the book, but you still don't take the time to Google the Rom Purge, aka the Night of the Long Knives. The facts regarding Hitler's anti-socialist views are not what is scrutinized in your book critique. Those facts are disputable, and any objective source will tell you this. Ulla Rover. German industry and the Third Reich. Quote.
I don't have to say much.
It became clear that despite some financial links between individual industrialists, individual industrialists, and the Nazi Party, big business did not, to use the German phrase, "in den Satelleben," quote, lift Hitler into the saddle. On the other hand, German industrialists did little to salvage the crumbling Weimar democracy during the Nazis' ascendancy in the early 1930s. End quote. Link. Quote, "In Republican Germany, the big business community was loosely organized, politically ineffective interest group that was held together primarily by its opposition to the growing menace of Sozialpolitik. Sozialpolitik. That is, that is the modern welfare state. Its political dealings were mainly with the so-called, so many words, bourgeois.
Bourgeois.
What? Bourgeois parties of the center and the right of the DVP, which is the Dus Volkspartei, the DDP, Dus Demokratische Party, and the DNVP, Dus Nationale Volkspartei. However, The general disdain big business had for the Republican form of government, a government that jeopardized the privileged position it once held under the defunct imperial order, precluded any serious attempt to use the system to its advantage, a system where votes, not money, were the determining factor in political success. Whoops, I scrolled down. Hold on. Oh, there we go. System and its desire to inculcate.
Inoculate?
That's not how you spell inoculate.
Oh.
Inculcate support for national values.
The printer has a cool case.
Could overcome it. Whoops.
I'm gonna play again, Mom.
Hi, I'm
We're
still
back.
here.
Yeah, so are you still here?
End quote! German big business and the rise of Hitler. Sorry, that was in all caps. By Henry Ashby Turner, Jr., New York. Oxford University Press, 1985. Hardcover. 487 pages. Oh, that's 407 pages. Link. Ulla Rover. Mein Kampf was given free to every newlywed couple and every soldier fighting at the front. That's not particularly capitalistic. Link. Ford was an industrialist who was very interested in fascism as a way to further Ford Motor's growth. Fascism is an antithetical to free market capitalism. It is a top-down economic control. Free market capitalism is liberal by its very nature, allowing individuals to exercise their will to freely exchange goods and services. The real Brian. Uller.
This is that teenage spirit.
You literally have nothing, because he was a capitalist. Even your links don't say he's a socialist. Quote. Adolf Hitler, Chancellor of Nazi Germany and at the center of World War II in Europe, earned millions of Reichsmarks throughout his political career, mainly through sales of his book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle, and his combined chancellor and president salaries. After coming to power, Hitler moved to make himself tax exempt. While hyperinflation of the Weimar Republic had crippled the German economy and plunged millions of German workers into unemployment, Hitler and his party received lavish donations from wealthy benefactors at home and abroad. The iconic American car maker and anti-Semite Henry Ford was reported to be one of the foreign supporters. Helen Bechstein, part of a rich aristocratic family who sold pianos, supported Hitler financially and gave him a top hat and business suit. The Reichssteel Barons Fritzisen donated almost 5 million Reichsmarks to the Nazi Party over the course of the war. Link. And you're still ignoring the Rome Purge. No wonder why. Ulla Rover. I'm not sure your angle with Knight of the Long Knives. Link. It was Hitler's consolidation of power. Pretty much how every authoritarian leader deals with a leadership position. Eliminating anyone who can threaten that tenuous grasp on power. Your contention that because he had a lot of money makes him a capitalist is ludicrous. Every socialist dictator has managed to amass plenty of wealth off the backs of everybody else. Maduro in Venezuela, for instance. Link. The real Brian. You have not studied the Rome Purge. You don't understand Hitler's rise to power, obviously. Quote, even though it's not quoted, once Hitler had acquired draconian powers under the March 1933 Enabling Act, Rome expected a second revolution in Germany based on true socialism. Many men in the SA were from the working class, and they now expected Hitler to reward their loyalty with what Rome called a second revolution. It never happened. Hitler had needed big business to get him into power, and he knew that their leaders would never tolerate an advance in the power of working class at their expense. Link. The Knights of the Long Knives 150 leaders of the stormtroopers SA were executed. Many members of the SA were committed socialists and demanded that Nazi policy embrace socialist aims. This was not a direction the Nazis wished to follow, so the SA were eliminated. Link. Ula Rover. And? You mean Hitler used grassroots to support to get him in position, then he screwed those that helped him? Gee, that sounds like a politician in any country. From there, he consolidated power and created a fascist state, partnering private industry and state control to create a top-down economy. That is not free market capitalism. Like my links noted above, big business did not get Hitler into power. I recommend watching this whimsical study in contrast. Link. The real Brian.
And the link is?
Watch the March of History, Mises versus Marx.
Oh,
Rap battle!
gotta watch that.
The real Brian. Ignore it all you want. The Rome Purge was the socialist purge. Duh. Ula Rover. And that doesn't default to capitalism. I think we are using the same words with different working definitions. The real Brian. Uller. I have not ever said Nazi Germany was a free market capitalism society. I've only said Hitler was an anti-socialist and capitalist, and any notions of Nazi Germany being socialist based is flat out wrong. The Nazi Party was a right-wing nationalist group. There is no other way to put it. You and others have ignored this and continue to say Hitler and the Nazis were socialists. Falsely. That's a debate you've been involved with. Again. Ula Rover. Capitalism. Noun. An economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. An era of free market capitalism. Quote, Oxford. I don't think you get to decide who wins and who loses. You tend to ignore my direct questions when I attempt to get clarity from you. You also mischaracterize my argument. I argued that Hitler and many in the upper ranks of the Nazi Party thought of themselves as socialists. This was distinguished from Marxism by National Socialists. Also, they were very much anti-capitalist, hence the top-down economic system best called fascist. The real Brian. Quote, even though there's no quotes. I argued that Hitler and many in the upper ranks of the Nazi Party thought of themselves as socialists. This was distinguished from Marxism by National Socialists. And that's why you're wrong. You still don't have a solid understanding of Hitler's rise to power, his positions, and propaganda, along with blatant facts like the Rome Purge. The Rome Purge! Which executed the socialists of the party. You ignore that socialists were killed by the Nazi Party all throughout history. You ignore that communism and socialism were viewed similarly then by Germans as is now by Americans. All of your links have stated Hitler was an anti-communist. My link says anti-socialist. Everything he says he took money from capitalists to support his nationalist agenda. You have nothing that says he was a socialist other than his co-opting of a political party that he joined as a military spy and or the 25-point nationalist program that was never fully implemented but also excluded everyone but true Germans. I didn't decide who was right. Others have already told you. Plus, I'm just arguing Nazi history, something you can't change and likely won't find new information on because it was so well documented and scrutinized. Ula Rover. Keep bludgeoning away. All the quotes I gave from Hitler in this exchange were 1940 or after. Well after he needed any pretense to be socialist. Quote, I didn't decide who was right. Others have already told you. End quote. Who? You are stuck on a very linear, overly simplistic left-right paradigm, and you seem to assume that That is how the world is viewed by everyone. It isn't. Also, you have directly refuted with counterfacts exactly 0 of the points I brought up. And since you won't give me a definition, here's Oxford's. It gives no indication of a left-right ideology. Socialism. Noun. A political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. The real Brian. From your definition, quote, even though there's no quotes, which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. It's in bold. End quote, even though there's no quotes. So, explain that to the Jews, blacks, gays, and socialists who were executed. You accuse me of sticking to paradigms? Well, you post definitions of socialism, capitalism, and ask, where does it say left or right? You're using quotes from Hitler as if he was known to tell the truth to the masses. You regurgitate the 25-point plan. It was never implemented. Capitalism fueled Nazi growth. I said that. Capitalism fueled Nazi growth. They were anti-socialists. So simple. You don't remember just a week ago when the operator of the site chimed in to tell you who's right? It doesn't matter. There's no objective history that points to your argument, so it doesn't matter who says it. You're wrong! Boom!
Oh.
Bam.
Real Brian just totally owned Ruler Rover. Yeah. Wow, that's an awesome ending. There's no objective history that points to your argument, so it doesn't matter who says it. You're wrong. And that's just it. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm right. He was an anti-socialist. And totally a capitalist. And you obviously don't know anything about the Rome Purge. The real Brian.
Well
You use Google every day. All the bullshit you pump in your brain and have posted on here from YouTube is owned by, guess who, Google? Consider this me helping you, like with the picture posting and technical comment troubles. Freedom from national control or control by both the people, both. Oh, it's hard sentences. Of what Hitler was doing and had vehemently opposed the Nazis before before the Nazis
Vehemently.
propaganda that portrayed the regime as the regime out of date now. For all his critical acumen, Scherer seems to
Wait, is that the end of it?
yeah, that's the end.